Hey everybody, welcome back. It's been a little while and you look great. You must have been working out or something, I don't know. Anyways, it's been pretty busy here, so it's been a little while since we've done the last video, which was also incidentally the first video. But anyways, moving right along today, we're going to get into some issues about finances and how to keep the financial aspect of your travels down in Costa Rica, or for that matter in a lot of places around the world, as trouble-free and wrinkle-free as possible. I've been having a little bit of issues with my technology, so we're going to break this into two videos. The first is going to be some general financial notes. The second one is going to be specifically about the use of ATMs here in Costa Rica. So, for this one, let's start out with something that a lot of people realize makes a lot of sense, but often forget to do until it's too late, and that is notifying their financial institutions as they're going to be traveling overseas and using their cards there. You may have had the experience of traveling to a city other than the one that you live in and trying to use your credit or debit card to purchase something and having the transaction declined, or perhaps getting a call on your cell phone asking if it's really you and presenting you with some security questions, answers, and so on. The reason why that happens is because nowadays, all major financial institutions use tracking software, and it's not just to pry into your personal lives and gather all sorts of data about you that they maybe don't deserve to have. But it's also a security feature. It lets them know if, for instance, suddenly somebody is trying to buy $18,000 worth of suits in Morocco, and you're from Pennsylvania and have never bought a suit before. So it's kind of a good thing, but it can really bite you in the butt if you are traveling and you've got that one card and suddenly it gets frozen on you, and it might take you a little while if it's after dark, or if it's not in customer service hours. You just may not have access to cash for an evening, and that could really be a problem if you're trying to use that card to pay for accommodations or something like that. So let them know, and also that sort of leads directly to the second point that I wanted to make, which is try and travel with at least two sources of cash. It might be a credit card and your debit card. Most people don't realize that the ATM networks here are fairly sophisticated. They're connected to most of the banks in the U.S. and Western Europe and so on, even Asia, Southeast Asia, and so on. So your debit card is quite likely to work just fine in any of the ATMs that you'll come across here in the country. So, and it's obviously better to have two sources. I mean, if something happens, whether it's a security challenge, or like I just mentioned, or who knows, anything. One of them gets damaged, or goes missing, or you lose it, or it gets stolen, or whatever. It's just best to have two sources of cash so that you can use one while trying to sort out problems with the other, if in the unfortunate situation that you do have a problem with one. Now, this third point is something that I've spoken with friends about several times, and people have different opinions about this, and I can really understand why. I'm of the opinion that you should talk to your financial institutions about at least the possibility of having your credit limit on your credit card raised while you're traveling overseas. I'm not saying that you should do it, but at least maybe give them a heads up that you might be asking for that. The reason why I say that is because on my first trip down here, I was just really stressed and exhausted. I wasn't paying attention. I just signed a rental agreement for a vehicle, and it wasn't until 3 days later I tried to use my credit card to get a cash advance, and the machine told me I had insufficient funds for it. And I was like, this is ridiculous. I know I have at least another $1,000 on that card. And as it turns out, the rental company had put something like a $750 or $1,000 security deposit against that vehicle rental. And so there I was in the middle of nowhere, no access to funds. It was terrible. And I ended up solving that problem by getting in touch with my bank and convincing them that it was me. And that was an arduous process, I must say. It took me a while to convince them that suddenly me calling from Costa Rica of all places and having the card, that it was me, and that I did need to have a solution. So they did raise my limit by whatever, $5 grand or something like that as a temporary measure, which solved my problem. But it also ruined the better part of one of my days of vacation. So instead of 9 days, I really only had 8. Plus, I had a pretty frustrating and annoying night the evening before without having access to funds. And that's happened to a number of other people as well. So On the other hand, every time you apply for an increase in your credit limit, it can affect your credit score. You know, it's not an open and shut thing. So, but you know, it's something for you to think about. Maybe talk with your branch manager about, if you have a branch manager, if you have any kind of a relationship with your financial institutions that would allow you to do that, and then make your own decision about whether or not it's something that you want to do. But it's definitely something to think about. Moving on to a few other things. The rate of exchange down here, people ask this all the time. A lot of people watching these videos will know that we have a vacation property rental company here. So we got people renting properties from us as opposed to staying in hotels, and I'm going to do a video about why that's awesome and why that awesomeness led us to start this company another time. But the point is that I get this question a lot from our clients. You know, do I need to have local currencies on hand? Can I use dollars? Can I use euros or euros? I'm sorry, I shouldn't. Anyways, or Canadian dollars or whatever other form of currency. And the short answer is, US dollars are virtually interchangeable with colones here. You can, and the rate is about 500 colones to the US dollar, and that fluctuates. It's a little bit higher, a little bit lower, just depending. But most places are just going to use that 500 colone per dollar exchange rate, and you'll find that throughout the country, pretty much anywhere that anybody's doing any kind of commerce. The one exception might be that, you know, people selling things at the side of the road, but even they'll take dollars. It's a little bit more difficult when you're using currency that's not US dollars, and in that case, you're going to want to go to a branch of a Costa Rican bank. It doesn't matter which one. There's about 5 or 6, and any branch that you walk into, as long as you have a government-issued ID, passport, or something like that, will exchange your currency for you. They'll give you a good rate. I have to say this about them. They're very honest about that. Rates are current, and you get a proper exchange rate on your currency into colones. And if you're exchanging money in the street and it is US dollars, it's odd that it would be this, but gas stations are another place where you can just exchange funds and they will give you a decent rate. It's extremely close to what the actual current exchange rate is. So make a note of that as well. Finally, just to wrap this particular video on financial issues up, don't use traveler's checks. I know they were very popular for a long time. A lot of people do still use them, but their popularity has certainly waned, and they can be very problematic. I laugh because my very, very good friend told me a story about what happened to him not very long ago. He actually went into a bank and he had 10 traveler's checks and he wanted to get these things cashed. So he sat down across from the branch manager who had his passport, and he signed all 10 of these traveler's checks. And then the branch manager took them and he looked at the passport and he looked at the checks and he was like, see, no, esta no. And he went through and he rejected 4 out of the 10 traveler's checks that he just seen my friend sign right in front of him. And you know, we hear that story just like, oh my God, that sounds so stupid. And really it's not, because the branch manager knew that those checks are going to have to be cleared by another person in a different location, and that person would be looking at the signature on the photocopy of the passport and comparing that with the traveler's checks, and he knew that those 4 would probably be rejected. So it's not as silly as it sounds, but the point is that my friend then had to wait until his next trip back to the States, take those traveler's checks back, get them redeemed back into currency, etc., etc. So that's just, they're not really a good option in terms of access to funds and security while you're traveling down here. So I hope that helps. Just wanted to say again, a lot of these comments and things that I'm answering are from emails that you guys have sent me, so feel free to keep those coming. I'm happy to be of help. That's what this is all about. Coming back, we're going to do another video really quickly, specifically on ATMs and using them down here. I hope this information helps, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.